President Trump lashed out at Comey on Twitter after firing him back in May, remember. He wrote this: James Comey will be replaced by someone who will do a far better job bringing back the spirit and the prestige of the FBI. Joining me right now is former FBI Assistant Director Jim Kallstrom. And Jim, you have been very vocal in terms of wanting credibility back at the FBI, wanting to see a change because it's been incredibly politicized. Your take on Christopher Wray?
I don't know him. You know, I look at his background, and he could be a very good FBI director, but I had hoped that the president could have found someone that had a breadth and scope of investigative experience, that had leadership billets. That, you need the FBI director to be someone that can not only be, have huge integrity, be a huge supporter of the Constitution. He's there to protect the American people. The FBI investigates from the Migratory Bird Act to espionage and everything else in between. And, what's gone on for the last few years, I've always said Jim Comey just didn't have the intestinal fortitude to actually be the FBI director.
Well,
he should have stood up and resigned when the whole thing was being politicized.
You mean when Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac, when he got the word from Loretta Lynch to call it a matter instead of an investigation?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that there would be no grand jury and things like that.
It wasn't recorded.
Wasn't recorded.
Her interview was not recorded.
And then other activities of, he was just all over the lot. And, the longer we look at this thing, the worse it gets for him. But I hope that this fellow is going to understand that it's a different job being the FBI director than being someone over in the Justice Department. It's apples and oranges. Yeah. And you've got to put your investigative hat on. You've got to be the leader, the motivator. You've got to communicate well with the public. You've got to understand their issues. If some agency is taking them to task like the IRS did to so many, you've got to have the intestinal fortitude not to be politically diverted from these types of investigations.
Well, I'd like to know why the IRS wasn't investigated in terms of targeting conservatives. I mean, John Koskinen, the head of the IRS, is still in the job, and we know that they targeted conservatives.
Obviously, for political reasons.
They just didn't agree with their political thoughts.
Yeah, and when that happens, you've got to stand up and you've got to tell the American people, this is BS. This is not what we're here for. We believe this crime is being committed. We want to investigate. They're not letting us investigate properly. And let them appoint a new director every 2 months if that's the game they want to play.
So Wray, today, his testimony comes amid a new FBI document dump. It's related to the agency's investigation of Hillary Clinton's mishandling of highly classified materials. Fox News is reporting that 42 pages paint a picture of serious but flawed investigation. They didn't really investigate her. It was hindered by a lack of cooperation. Do you expect senators to raise the issue with Wray today?
Sure, I would hope so. it was an investigation. I always said it was a shell game. But there was so much evidence, even without a proper investigation. They had a plethora of things that showed multiple felonies by Hillary Clinton. But, here's the question. What's going on today with the Clinton Foundation? That was stopped for political reasons. What's going on with the unmasking of purportedly thousands of names of American citizens? Where is this going? I hope it's going somewhere. I hope there's testimony being taken in Washington by a grand jury that's secret. I hope that's actually going on. Because there's so much out there, Maria, that you've got to take any political hat you have and you've got to just plow forward. You've got to be a tough guy. I hope this guy is a tough guy, and I hope he can do something about the political correctness that is really tying the hands of the FBI and other agencies. For the last over 8, 12, 14 years, where they haven't been able to actually investigate and look at things from a motive standpoint because of politics.
Yeah, because they're boss. They're not going to investigate the Clintons when the boss, Loretta Lynch, is basically calling it a matter, not an investigation.
Well, not only that, the Muslim Brotherhood has influenced these agencies, through their front groups, under the guise of, you're picking on a religion. So therefore, it would be kind of like you and I wanted to investigate La Cosa Nostra back in the 70s, but we couldn't know anything about them. We couldn't know anything about how they operate. you know, how the hierarchy is,
right.
you know, what their mores and focus, the rules of engagement. You can't know any of that.
So we knew that there was all this wrongdoing going on. I mean, the unmasking you mentioned, you know, Hillary Clinton getting $140 million into the Clinton Foundation after she approved the sale of 20% of the U.S.'s stockpile of uranium. And, you know, all we hear about these days now is Donald Trump Jr. and this meeting that he had with this lawyer.
Well,
if you're a political operative, or if you're in the middle of a campaign, let's just say you're in the middle of a campaign, and somebody says, hey, I have damaging info on the opponent, what are you going to say?
You know,
the
comments of Tim Kaine were just outrageous. You know, talking about treason. I mean, treason. There's plenty of, there's some potential treason, really. You know, giving Iran $150 billion to help kill more Americans in the future. I mean, that could be treason, but certainly not having a meeting. I mean, it's just outrageous how people just blow things up, and the hyperbole and the actual lying that goes on. So I hope this guy can rise to the occasion, and I'll be happy to do anything I can to help him. I mean, not that I'm the smartest guy in the world, but I do have a long history.
Well, you were at the FBI how long, Jim? You were at
27 years.
27
and
years.
then I was here at state law enforcement for 5 years.
Right.
And things like that. But I hope he can do a good job.
Has the FBI, you think, recovered from all of this, or are they still?
No, I think the FBI needs a complete motivational change. I mean, some of the people that have grown up under this system, you know, have developed, in my view, a bit of a Stockholm syndrome, you know, as to not leaning forward enough. Now, I don't mean being outrageous or illegal. I just mean doing your job.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Stick to the letter of the law.
Stick to the letter of the law. Let's protect the American citizens.
Yeah, great point.
Let's not look the other way.
There you go. Jim, great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much for weighing in. James Kallstrom, a former assistant director of the FBI.